Just turned 30 years old. You are a world champion. You are accomplished. You have made it from out the ghetto, from the slums, from the depths of Flint, Michigan. You don't got no kids. You have your whole life ahead of you. Well, why are you attaching yourself to this 47-year-old man that doesn't have anything going, has no career, no job, no income, except for the income that he's claiming off of your percentage because of your messages, and put my number out on her page that got 10 million followers? She did that. Putting everybody in our business, letting them know that me and Pap was together. You're a piece of shit, Papoose. You really are. You have turned into a piece of shit. This, the gambling, the failures that you had in your career or whatever that didn't pan out how you wanted to, has turned you into somebody else.
Claressa Shields breaks silence on Papoose side chick scandal. Remy Ma's words come true. https www.youtube.com/watch V equals TA3 convergence 0 o'clock 2051. Nobody anticipated it ending this way. One woman who is renowned for being unbeaten in the ring is Claressa Shields. The warrior who never blinks when staring down opponents suddenly broke down in tears. Not due to a blow or a defeat, but rather to something much more intimate and agonizing. She didn't lose it over a boxing match. It was treachery. Additionally, her own group wasn't the immediate source of the treachery. It sprang from an area she never imagined herself entangled in: the turbulent, disintegrating marriage of Papoose and Remy Ma. Whispers were the beginning of it all. It didn't seem like much at first. Another round of rumors that often go away in a matter of hours are circulating on social media. A grainy video there, a picture here. Papoose, the man who had established a reputation for being devoted to his wife and supporting her no matter what, was unexpectedly seen with another lady. Not a fan, not a cousin, and not someone who was simply explained. No, this person's appearance was too near and too at ease to be innocent. And the internet was ablaze with activity when those pictures were leaked. Blogs immediately jumped on the story. Papoose's side chick's infidelity was made public. Before long, the notions began to take off. Screenshots began to circulate. Timelines started to pull receipts. However, Papoose's capture wasn't the only twist. The surprise was that Remy's lifelong nemesis, Claressa Shields, was suddenly being dragged against her will, but with force, into the storm. And her response demonstrated how easily even the strongest people can become brittle when their confidence is betrayed. Because there had been warnings prior to this crisis. She had been cautioned by Remy, and that's where the complications arise. Claressa Shields and Remy Ma had never been the best of friends. At best, their past was turbulent. At worst, it was explosive. Nevertheless, despite all of their conflict, Remy occasionally spoke with an honesty that only someone who has experienced suffering can possess. She had warned Claressa to exercise caution around Papoose, either directly or indirectly. In cryptic interviews, she had alluded to the fact that her marriage was not as ideal as it seemed. When taken as a whole, her online posts that may have been dismissed as insults were more like warnings. Nobody knew Papoose as well as she did. She was aware of his tendencies and understood how risky it was for someone like Claressa to approach too closely. However, Claressa ignored it. Perhaps she believed Remy was merely acting resentfully and hurling salt out of jealousy. Perhaps she believed she was too intelligent to get entangled in someone else's problem. She was, after all, a champion who was focused, disciplined, and not the type of lady who is taken advantage of by business games. She convinced herself of that anyway until the side chick showed up. Although the released video was brief, it was harmful. Papoose laughing, leaning in and stroking her hand while in a car with another woman. It only took a few seconds to destroy years of well-cultivated allegiance. Fans were incredulous. This was a man who supported Remy during her time in prison, held her down when she was at her lowest, and sobbed while referring to her as his queen on stage. How could he betray not just her, but also the public persona of love and loyalty he had established? Even worse, how could Claressa become involved in this mess, whether she knew it or not? Claressa went public as soon as the pictures began to circulate. The champion, who is often calm, self-assured, and almost arrogant in her strength, started crying. At least, not in the conventional sense. She wasn't crying because she had experienced direct betrayal. The betrayal was more painful, which is why she was crying. She had put her trust in Papoose, relied on him as a friend, and allowed him to enter her inner circle and world. She felt exposed, degraded, and set up now that her name was being linked to the controversy on the internet. She insisted repeatedly that she didn't deserve to be dragged into the chaos of someone else's marriage and that she never asked for this. Fans, however, saw the collapse as unadulterated evidence that more was going on behind the scenes. Remy, however, said nothing. She took her time posting a statement on Instagram. She didn't confirm or deny. She simply said nothing. And more than anything she could have uttered, that stillness spoke. People started putting the pieces together. Perhaps she was aware. Perhaps she forewarned Claressa for that reason. Perhaps she even desired for her to experience the pain of betrayal directly. In any event, one thing was evident. Remy was no longer in a hurry to defend anyone. Fans split into factions as Claressa's tears went viral on social media. Some hurried to her defense, claiming she was innocent and unworthy of being included in Remy and Papoose's failing marriage. Others made fun of her, claiming that she ought to have paid attention to the warning. Remy said you didn't pay attention. Now, have a look at the insightful remarks. Being made fun of for her weakness was intolerable to someone who was accustomed to being praised for her power, and Papoose eventually answered after Claressa publicly struggled. He initially disregarded the sound in the hopes that it would subside. However, he sent an ambiguous message when the strain got too much. Not everything you see is true. Pictures can be deceptive. However, he never explicitly denied dating the other woman. He never described the content of the video. To make matters worse, he gave just enough leeway for speculation. The internet exaggerates things, several supporters said in defense of him. Others accused him of gaslighting and denying responsibility for being exposed. The so-called side chick also didn't remain mute. She fueled the flames by uploading mysterious messages and slyly smiling pictures. "He told me I wasn't the only one," was the caption for one image. Any remaining shards of fan-base devotion were smashed by that one line. In private, Claressa was disintegrating. According to her friends, she felt imprisoned and like a pawn in a conflict between Remy and Papoose. She believed that her career image was hurting because she had let her guard down and trusted the wrong people. She saw a new headline, meme, or fan linking her name with Remy's every time she opened her phone, as if she were a part of their marital conflict. The turmoil was oppressive to someone whose entire existence had been based on focus and discipline. Even worse, she was unable to fight her way out of this one. For her part, Remy quietly found delight in watching everything come to pass. According to insiders, anyway. Claressa had been warned. She had warned her to use caution. Now that he was witnessing her publicly sob, Remy didn't have to remark, "I told you so." For her, the world had already said it. There was yet another layer, though. Because despite their antagonism, Remy recognized the suffering that Claressa was going through. Betrayal isn't limited to romantic relationships. It has to do with trust. About having someone tear your faith apart after you put it in them. Remy was more familiar with that anguish than others. The scandal only became worse as the days passed. Celebrities started to comment. Fat Joe sent a mysterious tweet about how uncommon loyalty is. Cardi B sent a message about women needing to protect themselves from snakes, along with a heart, emoji. In a cunning post. Nicki Minaj made fun of both sides for not believing in industry romances. Claressa was swept up in the flurry of activity in the industry. For all the wrong reasons, her name is trending. Then followed the unexpected turn of events. Another woman came forward and said that she had also had contact with Papoose. Text conversations, late-night calls, and screenshots are all being made public. All of a sudden, it was more than one side chick. It had to do with a pattern. If this were the case, Papoose's whole persona as the loyal husband was only a skillfully constructed delusion. Claressa and Remy were both devastated by that revelation. Because betrayal hurts in the same manner regardless of how far away they were from one another or how much animosity they had. Both women were now living examples of this. There was more to Claressa's collapse than just tears. It was about the breakdown of trust and the understanding that even the strongest and most devoted individuals may be brought to their knees when the foundation around them fails. She had received a warning. She hadn't paid attention. She was now dealing with the fallout from ignoring the warning signs. The controversy has not ended. Papoose has yet to provide a comprehensive explanation. The chick or chicks on the side are still talking. Remy hasn't stated her position on the matter. Claressa as well. She must now work to restore her reputation while discreetly tending to invisible but no less severe wounds. Everyone enjoys a good battle. However, this was not a ring fight. The truth is still coming to light. But this was a battle for dignity, honesty, and trust. Will Claressa and Remy ever get back together? Will Papoose ultimately be held accountable for his deeds? Will Claressa be able to move past the embarrassment of disregarding a warning that she ought to have taken seriously? There's no denying that this goes beyond simple infidelity. This has to do with pride, power, and suffering. Furthermore, the story is far from finished.